You ever wonder why some people with less talent, fewer resources, and no obvious advantages, still find a way to win, while others who seem to have everything fall apart halfway through the race? It's not luck. It's not timing. It's not even skill. It's work. Relentless, invisible, thankless work. The kind of work that no one claps for. The kind that happens when the cameras are off, the crowd is gone, and it's just you, your grit, and the silence. That's where it happens. That's where greatness is built. You won't see it trending. It's not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause. But let me tell you this, the one truth that separates the unstoppable from the average is the simple decision to outwork everyone in the room. Because when it's dark, when it's cold, when it's not fair, when you're tired, when you're overlooked, someone else will quit. You won't. That's the difference. And if you've ever been underestimated, counted out, or told you weren't enough, then good. Let that sting fuel you. Let it burn into your soul and become the reason why no one, and I mean no one, will ever outwork you again. They can be smarter, they can be louder, they can be prettier, richer, more connected, but they will not outwork you. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You don't need permission, you don't need applause, you don't need perfect timing. You need one thing: to decide that from this moment on, you will be the one they can't ignore. Not because you begged for recognition, but because your work ethic left them with no choice. So here's the truth. If someone is out there grinding harder than you right now, while you're hesitating, doubting, scrolling, then you already know what needs to happen. Let's go. Motivation is a spark. It feels good, it lights you up, it makes you want to leap out of bed and take on the world. But here's the brutal truth. Sparks die. They fade. They flicker out when life gets uncomfortable, when the journey gets long, and when you realize that progress doesn't feel exciting. It feels repetitive. That's why the ones who win at the highest level aren't the ones who are most motivated. They're the ones who are most disciplined. Discipline is not sexy. It's not hyped up on social media. It doesn't give you a dopamine hit like a motivational video. Discipline shows up when the excitement disappears. It shows up when the dream starts to feel heavy. And it says, we keep going anyway. That's the difference. That's the dividing line between the person who says, I want it, and the person who actually gets it. Everyone wants the finish line, but only a few are willing to fall in love with the laps, the hours, the silence, the same routine repeated so many times it becomes part of your blood. You want to be great? Then start by mastering the boring. You want the glory? Then learn how to dominate the parts of the journey that no one claps for. People fall in love with highlight reels, the championships, the followers, the recognition, but they don't see the lonely mornings, the meals prepped in silence, the workouts when your body is screaming, the nights when everyone else is out having fun and you're at your desk grinding. That's where greatness is actually built. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows. And let's be honest, everyone starts strong. Everyone's motivated in the beginning. That's why gyms are packed in January. That's why everyone wants to start a business when inspiration hits. But how many stay consistent when progress slows? When no one is watching, when every cell in your body wants to rest? That's when discipline steps in. That's when you separate yourself. Because motivation asks, do I feel like it today? Discipline says it doesn't matter how I feel, I do it anyway. There will be days where you feel flat, numb, or exhausted. There will be days when you question if it's even worth it. But here's the truth. You need to understand, discipline does not negotiate with your emotions. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if you had a bad day. Discipline does what needs to be done, regardless. And the more you practice discipline, the more powerful you become. It's like a muscle. Every time you choose to follow through, especially when it's hard, you're strengthening the part of you that will carry you through storms. You stop being reactive, and you start becoming unshakable. You want to build something lasting? A body, a career, a legacy, a mindset that can't be broken? Then you have to stop waiting to feel like it. You have to start showing up out of commitment, not convenience. Think about every successful person you admire, the ones who stand the test of time, the ones who outlast trends and hype. They didn't get there because they were always motivated. They got there because they were relentlessly disciplined. They mastered repetition. They did the same small things over and over and over until the world had no choice but to notice. And make no mistake, the boring stuff is where the treasure is. It's where character is built. It's where resilience is developed. And it's where most people tap out. So if you can stay locked in when it's boring, you already have the edge. Most people want the results, but they don't want the rhythm that creates the results. They want the spotlight, but they don't want the solitude. They want to post about the journey, but they don't want to live it. When no one's paying attention, but not you, you're different. Because you're not chasing hype, you're building a foundation. You know that if you keep showing up, keep putting in the work, keep stacking the days, then the momentum becomes unstoppable. And eventually you'll be the one standing while everyone else has given up, not because you were the most gifted, but because you refused to break. And here's the magic no one talks about. When you practice discipline long enough, something shifts. What once felt hard becomes normal. What once felt boring becomes automatic. You become the type of person who expects to grind, who chooses pressure, who prefers the silence because that's where you do your best work. You become unstoppable, not in a loud, flashy way, but in the quiet, consistent way that scares people. Because they realize no matter what, you will keep showing up every single day, rain or shine, win or lose. So the next time you feel unmotivated, don't panic. Don't retreat, smile, because that's your moment. That's your chance to build the muscle that no one can steal from you. Discipline. It's not flashy, it's not fun, but it's the difference between people who almost made it and people who did. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to prove your worth to everyone you meet. You don't need to flex on people, post every little move, or explain why you're working so hard. Because when your work ethic is real, when it's relentless, when it's consistent, it speaks louder than anything you could ever say. Let them sleep, let them doubt you, let them scroll, while they relax, while they wait for the right time, while they talk about what they're going to do. You work quietly, obsessively, like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. The world doesn't listen to excuses, it listens to results, and results are built in the hours no one wants to talk about. They're built when everyone else goes home and you stay. They're built in the early mornings, the late nights, the skipped parties, the missed events, the sacrifices no one claps for. That's the reality most people run from. They want the crown without the crawl. They want to be recognized without being relentless. But it doesn't work like that. You can't shortcut the process. You can't fake the grind. It's either in you or it isn't. There's a difference between being busy and being committed. Anyone can look productive. Anyone can talk about their hustle. But true work ethic, that's the thing you can't fake. That's the thing that shows up in the outcomes. When the pressure hits, when there are no cameras, when no one's around to cheer you on, do you still show up? Because the truth is, your actions will always reveal your priorities. You can say you want success, but if your habits don't align, it's just noise. You can say you want to build something great, but if you're not outworking everyone in the room, then someone else will beat you to it. Not because they were more talented, but because they were more willing. That's what separates people. Willingness. The willingness to go again. The willingness to sacrifice. The willingness to work on the days it's hard. To outlast. To endure. To grind. When it's not glamorous, when there's no promise of immediate payoff. See, most people chase comfort. May want to win, but not if it hurts. Not if it's inconvenient. Not if it costs sleep, ego, or convenience. But the one who wins is the one who understands that real growth happens in discomfort. Real growth lives in pain. And if you want to be great, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable every single day. You have to let your work ethic do the talking. Because there will be people who underestimate you, people who ignore you, people who laugh when you say what you're chasing. Let them, their opinions don't matter. Your effort does, your work does. And one day, if you stay consistent, those same people will have no choice but to pay attention. Because work ethic is the one thing they can't argue with. They can talk about luck, about timing, about who knows who. But when you outwork everyone in the room, when you put in the hours, when you grind through what would break most people, there's no denying that. That's the moment your work ethic becomes your resume, your proof, your reputation. When your name gets mentioned, people know, not because you said it, but because they've seen it. And the best part, you don't need to be the most talented. You don't need the perfect background. You don't need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most connected. But if you're willing to work harder than everyone else, you give yourself a chance to win. And most people will never even get that far because they don't have the patience or the persistence. So build that edge. Build it when you don't feel like it. Build it when no one's watching. Build it through repetition. Show up to the gym when you're tired. Push through the project when you're uninspired. Keep practicing your craft when there's no reward in sight, because that's how real competitors are made. They're made in the silence, in the grind, when the world isn't clapping and you keep going anyway. That's how you earn respect. That's how you become undeniable. Not because you shouted louder, but because you worked louder. You created momentum that couldn't be ignored. You became so consistent, so committed, so dedicated to the process that the world had no choice but to notice. So the next time you feel like you're not being seen, not being recognized, not being celebrated, good. That means it's time to go harder. It means you're in the zone where champions are built. Stop trying to be seen. Start working in a way that makes it impossible not to be. Let them sleep. Let them laugh. Let them question. While they rest, you grind. While they waste time, you build. While they talk, you walk the path. And when it's all said and done, you won't need to explain yourself. Your work will say it all. Pain has a way of introducing you to the real version of yourself. It strips away the noise, the distractions, the false confidence, and what's left is truth, that uncomfortable, raw, unfiltered version of you that you can't hide from. Most people run from that version. Most people avoid pain like it's a curse. But here's something no one tells you. Pain is a privilege. It's a teacher. It's a mirror. It's the one experience that, if you let it, will shape you into someone who's truly unbreakable. Suffer now, or suffer later. That's the choice, because life doesn't give you a pain-free option. If you avoid the pain of discipline, you'll face the pain of regret. If you run from the pain of hard work, you'll meet the pain of mediocrity. If you dodge the pain of emotional growth, you'll carry the weight of the same patterns repeating again and again until life forces you to confront them. But when you lean into pain, when you decide to face it head on instead of hiding, you take control. You own your suffering. You turn it into power. You become the kind of person who doesn't just survive storms, but learns to dance in the rain. There's something sacred about that kind of pain. It's the pain of waking up earlier than your body wants to. It's the pain of pushing through one more rep, one more hour, one more rejection, one more lesson. It's the ache of watching people pass you by while you're grinding in silence. It's the quiet suffering of watching others take shortcuts while you stay committed to doing things the right way. That kind of pain, it molds you. It cuts away everything weak, fake, and fragile in you, until what's left is pure. And let's be clear, no one escapes pain. Not the rich, not the talented, not the gifted, not the privileged. Everyone hurts. Everyone struggles. Everyone breaks in some way. But the ones who rise, the ones who grow, the ones who level up, they make pain serve them. They don't just go through pain, they grow through it. Think about every great transformation in history, in sports, in business, in personal stories. None of it was born out of comfort. It was born out of fire, out of pressure, out of situations that would have crushed the average person. But that's the beauty of pain. It doesn't leave you the same. It either destroys you or it builds you, and that choice is yours. You can suffer with purpose, or you can suffer with regret. You can use pain as a tool or let it become a prison. But understand this, comfort is a liar. It will make you think you're okay when you're not. It will convince you that good enough is a safe place to stay. But comfort never produces champions. Comfort never builds legacies. It only builds people who almost made it, who nearly did something special, who were one level of suffering away from their breakthrough. Suffering is the payment for greatness. That's not a motivational line, that's reality. You don't get strength for free. You don't develop courage just by thinking about it. You get it by surviving the things that were meant to break you. And when you do, you become dangerous. Because now there's nothing left to fear. The worst has already happened. You've already been through the fire, you've already heard the doubts, felt the losses, endured the betrayals, and you're still here, still grinding, still standing. That's the proof that pain was never there to destroy you. It was there to awaken you. So the next time life hits you, don't ask, why me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Ask, how do I use this? Ask, who am I becoming because of this? Because the people who live soft lives never build strong minds. They fall apart when the pressure rises. But when you've suffered with intention, when you've trained yourself to embrace the hurt, you build a tolerance for discomfort that makes you unstoppable. This is how you separate yourself. By choosing the path most well. By saying yes to the workout when it hurts. By saying yes to the grind when you're tired. By saying yes to growth when it's painful. Every time you do, you put distance between you and the person you used to be, the version that settled, hesitated, or played small. The truth is, you don't grow in the win, you grow in the fight. You grow in the losses, in the breakdowns, in the lonely nights, in the almost that sting. That's where your roots are formed. That's where your edge is created. And when you've been through enough, something shifts. Pain stops being a threat. It becomes fuel. So don't curse the hard times. Don't run from the struggle. Don't numb the discomfort. Lean into it. Invite it in. Let it shape you, sharpen you, refine you. Let it humble you. So when success finally comes, you know how to carry it with grace and power. Because when you've suffered for it, truly suffered for it, nobody can take it from you. You earned it, and you'll never suffer like that again. Not because life gets easier, but because you got stronger. You keep waiting for someone to notice you, waiting for someone to validate your ideas, waiting for a sign, an opportunity, a green light, something, anything that gives you permission to go all in. But here's the truth that most people never want to face. That permission you're waiting for, it's not coming. It's never been coming. And more importantly, you don't need it. You don't need someone to tell you that you're ready. You don't need applause to be qualified. You don't need someone to crown you before you step into your power. The world doesn't owe you recognition, respect, or reassurance, and greatness doesn't begin with acceptance from others. It begins when you decide to accept yourself. Because here's what's really holding most people back. It's not fear of failure. It's fear of being judged, of being seen starting small, of being misunderstood, of being laughed at for trying something that no one around them has done. That fear keeps people caged and average. It makes them shrink, second guess, and play it safe. And safety might feel good for a while, but eventually it suffocates your potential. There is no growth in waiting. There's no strength in seeking permission from a world that isn't invested in your destiny. The people you're waiting on to clap for you, they're busy clapping for themselves. And even if they aren't, even if they do notice you one day, ask yourself, do you really want your future to depend on whether or not someone else approves of it? Because when you build your life on approval, you give people the power to pause your progress. You give them access to your identity, your decisions, your value. And that's dangerous because most people don't see the fire inside of you. They only see what's familiar. They only understand what fits inside their own limitations. And the moment your vision grows bigger than their comfort, they'll try to talk you down, not because they're evil, but because your boldness exposes their fear. But you're not here to live small. You're not here to dim your light just to make others comfortable. You're here to do something different, and that means being misunderstood. That means being the one who doesn't follow the crowd. That means showing up fully, even when no one claps, and especially when they don't. You think the people you admire waited for approval? No. They were told they were crazy. They were told it would never work. They were laughed at, doubted, ignored, rejected, and they kept going. Not because they had some magical support system, but because they gave themselves permission to become who they were meant to be. And that's what you need to do. You need to stop outsourcing your confidence. Stop asking people who've never done what you're trying to do. If it's possible, stop checking in with people who quit on their own dreams and hoping they'll understand yours. They won't, and they don't have to. The moment you realize that your greatness doesn't need to be announced or voted on, That's when you become unstoppable. That's when your grind becomes focused. That's when your mindset levels up because now you're no longer looking around for support. You're building it within. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify why you work harder, dream bigger, or stand out. You owe no one that explanation. What you do owe yourself is the courage to start, the courage to trust your instincts, the courage to take the risk even if you fall on your face. And yes, you will fall, you will make mistakes. You will have days where the voice in your head tells you you're not enough. But those are the moments that build you. Those are the defining points where you either shrink back into waiting or step forward into becoming. The ones who rise, they rise not because they were the most confident, but because they were the most committed. They decided, I'm doing this with or without a cheerleader. That's what separates leaders from followers, builders from talkers, doers from dreamers. So today, this moment, give yourself the permission you've been waiting for. Stop waiting for your parents to approve it. Stop waiting for your friends to understand it. Stop waiting for someone to pick you, notice you, invest in you. Pick yourself. Act like your dream is already valid. Work like the door is already open. Walk like you belong in every room you enter, not because someone said so, but because you decided so. Because the truth is, nobody's coming to save you. No one's going to hand you a golden ticket to greatness. You either step into it or you stay outside waiting. And that's the real tragedy. Not failing, not falling, not being rejected, but never even starting because you were waiting for a nod you didn't need. So stop waiting, build, create, move, act, and know that the most powerful permission in the world comes from within, from you. Consistency doesn't get the attention it deserves. It's not flashy, it's not exciting, and it doesn't come with instant applause, but it's the trait that separates winners from wishers. Everyone wants to be great, but only a few are willing to show up again and again, especially when no one is watching, especially when there's no hype, no applause, and no guarantee of success. That's what makes consistency a killer instinct. It's quiet, it's boring, it's repetitive, but it's undefeated. People overcomplicate success. They think it's about big moves, one viral moment, one massive opportunity. But the truth is, it's about the small things. It's about the unglamorous work done day in and day out long after the motivation fades and the crowd loses interest. It's about waking up and doing what needs to be done, not when you feel like it, but because it's part of who you are. That's what builds power. That's what builds confidence. That's what builds legacy. Most people are looking for hacks, shortcuts, cheat codes, but consistency is the cheat code. If you can show up every day, no matter what, you will outperform, outlast, and outgrow those who only work when they're inspired. The hard truth is, inspiration is unreliable. It's like the wind, it comes and goes. But consistency is your anchor. It keeps you grounded when everything else tries to pull you off track. You don't need to be the best. Right now, you just need to be committed enough to keep showing up. Every day you show up, you're building something. You're adding a brick to your foundation. One brick might not look like much, but keep stacking and you'll build something unshakable. That's how real success is built. One brick at a time, one choice at a time, one relentless day after another. The people at the top, they're not just talented, they're consistent. They've learned to master the boring. They've learned to fall in love with repetition. They've trained themselves to show up regardless of how they feel, because they know that the race isn't won by the fastest sprinter. It's won by the one who never stops running. Consistency is hard because it doesn't give instant results. It requires patience. It requires trust. It asks you to plant seeds and water them for months before you ever see a sprout. That's why most people give up, not because they couldn't do it, but because they quit before the results had time to show up. But if you can stay committed long enough, if you can endure the delay, the silence, the frustration, you'll begin to see what others never stuck around long enough to witness. And here's the thing, consistency compounds. The effort you put in today builds on yesterday. Every workout adds up. Every hour you spend learning, building, practicing, it adds up. You may not see the difference day by day, but step back after a year of showing up, and you'll be unrecognizable. The people around you will wonder how you did it. They'll call it talent, luck, or fate, but you'll know it was consistency. It was the work you did when no one else was willing. The truth is, most people won't do it. They'll start strong and disappear. They'll make big plans and never follow through. They'll let emotions dictate effort. But you show up. You put in the work, you stay locked in even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, even when there's no applause. That's your power. That's your edge. And it doesn't take perfection. You're not going to be on fire every day. Some days you'll drag yourself out of bed. Some days your effort won't be pretty. But if you show up anyway, even at 70%, even at 40%, that consistency still wins. That kind of persistence breaks barriers. You don't need to feel powerful to be powerful. You just need to be present, fully committed, fully locked in. Let everyone else chase shiny objects. Let everyone else wait for motivation. You grind, you commit, you stay the course. That's how killers are made, not in bursts, but in rhythm. And eventually, consistency becomes identity. It's not just something you do, it's who you are. You become the type of person who shows up no matter what. You start trusting yourself. And that trust is everything. Because once you know you'll keep showing up even when it's hard, you become unstoppable. People can't compete with that. They can match your talent, they can copy your strategy, but they cannot replicate your consistency. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what sets you apart. Because when others give up, you stay. When others get distracted, you focus. When others wait for conditions to be perfect, you keep building in the storm. So keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Stack the days, put in the reps, master the repetition. That's what turns average into elite. That's what turns effort into results. That's how you win the long game. Consistency is quiet. It doesn't get attention, but over time, it dominates everything. Show up again and again until the world has no choice but to take notice. At the end of the day, it won't be the loudest, the most talented, or the most popular who rise. It'll be the ones who refuse to quit. The ones who keep showing up when it's hard. The ones who choose discipline over comfort. The ones who don't wait for permission. The ones who suffer with purpose. The ones who understand that real power is built in silence, in sweat, in struggle, not in spotlight. You don't need to be chosen. You don't need applause. You don't need easy. You need fire. You need focus. You need the kind of hunger that doesn't fade when the results are slow. You need to outwork everyone who thought you couldn't, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. This is your life. This is your shot. And every second you waste waiting, doubting, overthinking, someone else is out there grinding. Someone else is getting better while you hesitate. Don't let them outwork you. Don't let them take what was meant for you because you are too busy looking for motivation instead of building consistency. Start now, stay with it, and never stop. Because if you want to win, really win, then make this your mindset. You will not outwork me. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever.